Modern youth Ying traveled through the world of comprehensive martial arts and arrived at the Tongfu Inn in Qixia town, becoming an iron-faced and straightforward monk. Whenever someone calculates a hexagram and obtains the hexagram gold, Ying can convert the hexagram gold into qi points, exchange the qi points from the system for a treasure chest, and receive rich rewards. From then on, Ying began his journey of fortune-telling and changing fate against the heavens. Xiong Ba. Master Hua, is the golden scale a thing in the pool? What is the next sentence that turns into a dragon when encountering wind and clouds? Marquis Tai Dan. Hua Gongzi, where exactly is the third Tianxiang cardamom? Lin Pingji. Hua Gongzi, how can I save the Fuwei escort agency? We have completed a comprehensive martial arts work with 2.4 million words, with powerful updates. Keywords of the novel. Comprehensive martial arts. Tongfu divination, with no pop-ups at the beginning of the game. Comprehensive martial arts. Tongfu divination, with the beginning of the game being Xiongba divination. Complete collection download. Comprehensive martial arts. Tongfu divination, with the beginning of the game being Xiongba divination. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Seizing the Mud Bodhisattva Business. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Seizing the Mud Bodhisattva Business. 2 mantu, a plate of pickles and a bowl of noodle soup. Mr. Hua, your dishes are ready. Ying looked at the mantu, pickles and the bowl of hot noodle soup in front of him, and couldn't help sighing. If we don't meet anyone who is willing to make divination with him today, he may not even be able to eat mantu and pickles in a few days. Seeing Ying's sighing expression, old Bai, who was running away, advised him, Mr. Hua, if you want me to tell you, why don't you just lower the price? This hexagram will cost 100 taels of silver, but it's too expensive. As he spoke, old Bai couldn't help but look up at the sign standing next to Ying. The iron mouth is straight, with 100 taels of silver patterns. Wang Matzi next door only received 10 copper coins for divination, but Ying poured it out and opened his mouth with 100 taels of silver. Even if this is the wealthiest cashier in their 7 heroes town, I'm afraid it can't be counted. Upon hearing Lao Bai's persuasion, Ying shook his head helplessly. The starting price required by the system is 100 taels of grain silver, and he can't do anything about it. As a traveler, Ying awakened his essential golden finger and qi system on his first day in Qixia town. The qi system endows Ying Tai with the ability to cut his mouth straight. As long as he collects divination gold for divination, he can use the divination gold to extract the qi value carried by the diviner. Qi luck value can be used to exchange with the system for bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond chests. Opening the treasure chest can obtain martial arts secrets, and even various rare treasures. Simply put, as long as Ying keeps divining, he can reach the pinnacle of his life. At first, Ying thought the same way, but when he saw that the minimum requirement for the system's divination was 100 taels of silver grain, he felt that this matter was not simple. As expected, when he erected the sign, Iron Mouth Straight, Silver Emblem 100 Liang, no one was willing to come to him for divination at all. The reason is simple, one word, expensive. It's too expensive. 1 or 2 silver is enough for an ordinary family in Qixia town to live for a long time. 100 taels of silver is a huge sum of money. There must be some people in Qixia town who have 100 taels of silver. But there is absolutely no one willing to spend 100 taels of silver to ask him for divination. As a result, nearly half a month has passed and Ying hasn't even met a customer. If it weren't for wearing a silver bracelet on his hand during his travels, he might have starved to death on the street long ago. When Lao Bai saw Ying shaking his head and unwilling to lower the price, he said, "Why don't you just go to the big city to try your luck? There are many wealthy people there, maybe there are fools." Ying shook his head again upon hearing this. He also thought about leaving Qixia town and trying his luck in a bigger place. But the key issue is that the world is really too dangerous. In the martial arts world, various forces are intertwined and constantly in conflict. If he were to leave Qixia town and go somewhere else, as a scholar with no strength to bind himself, he might be killed by bandits on the way. The most crucial thing is that the host welfare provided by the system is located inside the Tongfu Inn in Qixia town. As long as he stays in this Tongfu Inn, he is an invincible existence, immune to all damage. Although he can't kill others, others can't kill him either. Although the duration of this host welfare is only 1 year. However, this is sufficient for the current Huayin. If he still can't have the ability to wander the world alone after a year, it would be too embarrassing for the traveler. Just as Huayin was talking to Lao Bai, a group of people suddenly walked in outside the inn. This group of people is wearing a uniform black short shirt, tied with a red belt, and embroidered with the 3 big characters, Tianxia Hui, on their chest, looking tall and imposing. The guests dining in the inn, upon seeing the large letters on their chests and learning of their identities, showed a look of awe on their faces. The disciples of the Tianxia Association sat down at an empty table, ordered food and drinks, and then started talking quietly. We've been searching for over a month now, and we don't know when we'll be able to find that mud Bodhisattva. It is said that the mud Bodhisattva had no last resort, and I don't know if it's true. That's the distinguished guest that the guild leader wants to see by name. I believe he must have some real skills. Not far away, Huayin couldn't help but brighten up when he heard the conversations of these disciples of the World Association. During the half-month he spent in Qixia town, he talked to the merchants and heroes who came and went from south to north, and also learned a lot about the world. In the Ming dynasty, there were numerous martial arts forces. Marquis Zhu of the Iron Gallbladder God ignored the Dragon Protection Villa where he was stationed, inviting the moon and compassionate stars to sit in the moving flower palace. The Xinjian Villa by the Green Water Lake, where the sword god Xie Xiaofeng is located. There is also Wudong Mountain, where the martial arts tycoon Zhang Sanfeng is stationed. And martial arts sects such as the 5 Sacred Swords sect and the Sun Moon Divine sect. The newly emerging Tianxia Association is one of the powerful forces that cannot be underestimated. A few years ago, Xiongba, a disciple of the 3 great elders, founded the Tianxia Association and embarked on expeditions from east to west, establishing a great reputation in the martial arts world and dominating one side. Nowadays, when people in the martial arts world mention Xiongba, everyone should call him Xionggang leader to show respect. However, the current tyrants have not yet received the help of the wind and clouds, and it will take some time for the world to become the true #1 gang in the world. At this moment, disciples of the Tianxia Association are searching everywhere for the mud Bodhisattva, probably to invite the mud Bodhisattva to the Tianxia Association and give the first mandate to the ambitious hegemon. With these thoughts in mind, Huayin smiled faintly and said casually, "I see that mud Bodhisattva, but it's just an empty name." On the other side, the disciples of the Heavenly Society who were discussing mud Bodhisattva heard Huayin's words and turned their heads to look at him. One of the disciples stood up and walked up to Huayin's side, sternly questioning, "Who are you? How dare you eavesdrop on our conversation?" Huayin showed a sophisticated demeanor and did not care about the unreasonable actions of the disciples of the Tianxia Society. He calmly replied, "I didn't eavesdrop on your conversation. What I said was calculated by pinching my fingers." Upon hearing this, the disciples of the Tianxia Association sneered coldly and asked, "Then you can calculate for me. When will I become a master of the acquired realm?" Huayin raised his finger and pointed to the sign next to him, saying, "The iron mouth is broken straight, and the pattern is 100 taels of silver. If you can afford this hexagram gold, why don't I give you a chance of prosperity?" At this moment, the disciples of the Tianxia Society noticed the sign next to Huayin. Even though they had already seen the world, they were still stunned by Huayin's sign. Calculating a hexagram requires 100 taels of silver patterns, which is really dark. Immediately, the disciples of the Tianxia society boldly drew their swords and angrily said, "I see you're teasing me." As he spoke, the disciples of the Tianxia society slashed at Yin's arm, intending to sever Yin's arm as a punishment. The guests around couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when they saw this scene. But just when everyone thought Yin would definitely splatter blood on the spot, a surprising scene appeared. The sword that the disciples of the Tianxia society struck on Yin's shoulder did not even damage Yin's clothes. The disciple of the Tianxia association who wielded the sword was shocked and withdrew. He looked at the long sword that had already been rolled up, and his face instantly turned pale. At this moment, other disciples of the Tianxia association also stood up in great panic, gathered together, and looked at Yin with extremely vigilant eyes. At this point, they already knew they had kicked to the iron plate. If Yin disregarded the power of the World Association, it would be difficult for them to leave this Tongfu in alive today. Yin looked at the disciples of the Heavenly Society who seemed to be facing a great enemy and said calmly, "For the sake of the face of the tyrant, I won't argue with you. Go away." The disciples of the Tianxia association breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing Yin's words, then turned around and hurriedly left. A powerful figure who disdains mud Bodhisattva and is invincible has appeared at the Tongfu Inn in Qixia town. It is highly likely to become an obstacle to their unification of the martial arts world. They must go back as soon as possible to report this matter to the sect leader. After these disciples of the Tianxia society left, everyone turned their heads and looked at Yin again. Previously, everyone also got to know Yin because of his iron mouth straight cut, silver grain of 100 tails sign. In the minds of everyone, Yin was just a half-hearted troublemaker. Unexpectedly, Yin is still a martial arts master. If it weren't for a martial arts master, how could he easily take that deadly blow? Thinking of these, everyone's gaze at Yin immediately became different. The once casual disdain has now turned into awe. On the other hand, Yin's heart also breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. Although he knew he was an invincible presence in the Tongfu Inn. But when faced with that knife, it's inevitable that I still feel a bit scared. Fortunately, the system production is guaranteed, and if it is invincible, it is invincible. Mr. Hua, you're welcome. Lao Bai walked over and looked at Yin with a surprised expression on his face. He has known Yin for half a month now, and he really hasn't noticed that Yin is still a master. Yin smiled faintly and said, "Just practicing some horizontal skills." As a thief saint, Lao Bai is at least an expert in the innate realm. His strength is not very strong, but he has a keen eye. He has seen this horizontal practice of martial arts and bodybuilding, and it's the first time he's seen this one practicing clothes together. To him, Yin is at least an innate realm. Only the innate realm can release true qi and protect oneself. Moreover, when Yin releases his true qi, he is silent and imperceptible, perhaps his strength is even higher than his innate ability. In addition, previously Yin directly referred to the name of the Xiong Ba instead of the Xiong gang leader, which is clearly a manifestation of fearlessness towards the Xiong Ba. And Xiong Ba is a famous master realm expert. From this, it can be seen that Yin's strength is only stronger than his innate strength. Thinking of these, Old Bai's gaze at Yin suddenly changed again. At this moment, Yin did not care about what Lao Bai was thinking. He only hopes that those disciples of the Tianxia Association can rush back to the Tianxia Association as soon as possible and report what happened today to the Xiong Ba. He didn't believe that Xiong Ba could still sit still after learning that there was a more powerful fortune teller than Mud Bodhisattva at Tongfu Inn in Qixia town. Xiong Ba, whether I can earn my first bucket of gold or not depends entirely on you. Yin thought of these and became increasingly excited about the arrival of the powerful leader. Newcomers, please take a look. The protagonist is really good at divination, not relying on prophetic plot spoilers. Later on, it will change the fate of each character. Don't just read a chapter and go to the comments section to give advice, is that okay? The author of chapter 2 said there was an explanation, and there were still people who went to the comments section to criticize. I had no choice but to explain it again in chapter 1. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Criticizing Destiny for Heroes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Criticizing Destiny for Heroes. Days passed in a hurry. Just as other disciples of the Heavenly Society were searching for the traces of the mud Bodhisattva, the disciples of the Heavenly Society who had encountered Xuan at the Tongfu Inn had already rushed back to the Heavenly Society. They reported their encounter at Tongfu Inn as soon as they returned to Tianxia. Upon hearing this, Wen Cho was also taken aback and quickly shook his fan to search for the hegemon. At this moment, the tyrant was sitting upright in the main hall of the Tianxia meeting, with a proud expression, not angry but majestic. When he saw Wen Cho hurriedly approaching, he asked lightly, "But have you found mud Bodhisattva?" Wen Scandal shook his head and said, "Master, I haven't found mud Bodhisattva, but I have found someone who is even more powerful than mud Bodhisattva." Speaking of Wen Cho, he told Xiongba what he had heard from those disciples. Upon hearing the ugly narration of Wen Xiongba's majestic face couldn't help but show a hint of surprise. Under one blow, there was no damage to even his clothes. This person's strength is at least in his innate realm. As he spoke, Xiongba had already stood up. When Cho followed Xiongba and whispered, "According to those disciples, this person is called Xuan, and he is also a fortune teller. Moreover, calculating a fortune requires 100 taels of silver." Upon hearing this, Xiongba said indifferently, "If you are truly an expert who is even more powerful than mud Bodhisattva, if you only need 100 taels of silver for divination at once, it is already considered cheap." As he spoke, the tyrant ordered Wen Chaochu, "Go prepare your horse." When Cho understood and asked in surprise, "Is the leader going to personally meet Xuan for a while? Why not send disciples to invite him over?" The tyrant gently shook his head. Since the other party spared those disciples for the sake of his dominance, how could he not give the other party face? In an instant, several days have passed. Xuan's silver bracelet was almost depleted, but it still couldn't be opened. At this moment, he sat in the lobby almost every day, hoping for the stars and the moon, and hoping that the tyrant could come early. Those guys won't report this matter after they go back, will they? Xuan pondered, if those disciples hadn't reported what happened that day, then his image as an expert would have been in vain. Just as Xuan was thinking this, a tall figure suddenly walked into the inn. This person looks about 40 years old, dressed in a golden robe, with meticulously combed black hair and a dignified face. His every move exudes dominance, but as soon as he enters the inn, he instantly becomes the focus of attention. Just as Lao Bai was looking at this person with curious eyes, Xuan's voice could be heard in his ear. "Lao Bai, bring up the best wine and vegetables from the inn." Upon hearing Xuan's words, Lao Bai was somewhat surprised and asked, "Mr. Hua has money. Every meal of Xuan these days is made of flour soup and mantu." He looks at the birds fading out of his mouth. "Of course, I also know that Xuan's money should be running out." At this moment, Xuan suddenly wanted to eat the best food and drink. Perhaps he wanted to have a domineering meal and then run away, right? Faced with the surprised old Bai, Xuan smiled slightly and said, "Don't be afraid that I will have a domineering meal. Just serve good wine and dishes, and this guest will naturally pay for me." During his speech, Xuan turned his head to look at the majestic middle-aged man and said, "Xionggang leader, do you think I'm right?" Upon hearing Xuan's words, Xiongba took a deep look at him and suddenly showed a smile on his face. He walked slowly to the opposite side of Xuan and sat down, then said to Xuan, "How did Mr. Hua recognize me?" Xuan pointed to the sign next to him and smiled silently. Xiongba glanced at the sign next to Xuan, which read, "Iron Mouth Broken, Silver Pattern 100 Liang," and then said, "Mr. Hua is really amazing." The people around heard the conversation between Ying and Xiongba, and their faces showed surprise. They never expected that this seemingly extraordinary middle-aged man would be the notorious leader of the World Association in recent years. Thinking of what happened a few days ago, everyone immediately realized that Xiongba must have come to find Ying because of the previous incident. "I just don't know if the Xiongba is coming this time, whether he is an enemy or a friend." Just as everyone was curious, Xiongba continued to say to Ying, "Mr. Hua, why don't you double-check what happened to me this time?" Ying chuckled at the words and replied, "Master Xiong dispatched his disciples to search for the mud Bodhisattva, who is known as the world's #1 physiognomy. Of course, it was for fortune-telling and divination purposes. I came here today, and I believe it was for this matter." Upon hearing Ying's answer, Xiongba nodded lightly and said, "Not bad, I am indeed here for this matter. Since Mr. Hua knows my purpose, I wonder if Mr. Hua can come with me on a trip to the world." Ying shook his head and replied, "I'm right in this Tongfu Inn. No matter who invites me, I won't go." Once he leaves Tongfu Inn now, he will no longer have the invincible state supported by the system. He will only go to the world meeting with the tyrant if his head is broken. Xiongba saw Ying shake his head and his gaze gradually became sharp. Over the years, he has been wandering in the rivers and lakes, but no one has dared to disobey him. Who? An extremely astonishing aura emanated from the majestic figure, enveloping the entire lobby. Everyone in the lobby felt a great sense of oppression, as if a big stone was pressing against them, making it difficult to breathe. But Ying, who was the first to bear the brunt, had a calm and carefree expression, as if he had not been influenced by the pressure from the powerful master's realm at all. After all, he has an invincible state of systematic welfare, and is not afraid of a tyrant at all. The more calm Ying appeared, the more surprised Xiongba's heart became. Not many people can still smile and eat and drink freely under his pressure. At this moment, Xiongba suddenly restrained his momentum and a smile appeared on his face. He laughed heartily and said to Ying, "Since Mr. Hua doesn't want to go to the World Assembly with me, let's just make a divination here." During his speech, the tyrant reached his waist and pulled out a silver note, no more or less, with a face value of exactly 100 taels. "Please Mr. Hua calculate a hexagram for me." Xiongba pushed the silver ticket in front of Ying, and his smile slowly narrowed. After the tyrant restrained his momentum, the others in the inn suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Although they were only affected by the aftermath of this momentum, the sense of oppression remained strong. Watching Ying stand still under the pressure of a powerful ruler, everyone's evaluation of Ying couldn't help but be higher in their hearts. Expert. This is definitely a master. Just as everyone was thinking about these things, Ying glanced at the 100 taels of silver bills, but shook his head. Xiongba frowned and asked when he saw Ying shaking his head, "Mr. Hua, what does this mean?" Ying said indifferently, "Ordinary people are considered ordinary things and only need 100 taels of silver tattoos. However, the male leader is the dragon among the people and has great talent and strategy. How can this future fate be counted as 100 taels of silver tattoos?" Upon hearing Ying's words, Xiongba pondered for a moment and felt that what Ying said was very reasonable. He immediately asked Ying, "Do you know how much silver Mr. Hua needs to calculate divination for me?" Ying smiled slightly and replied, 10,000 taels of silver. 10,000 taels of silver. Compared to the minimum requirement of the system, it has increased by a whole 100 times. He is worth it. Xiongba gave Ying a meaningful glance and then clapped his hands. Pop 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 pop. Amidst the clapping of hands, several disciples of the World Association immediately walked in from outside the inn. The tyrant casually ordered, "Go and get the money." In just a moment, the disciples of the Tianxia Association arrived at the Tongfu Inn again carrying a large box. The box was opened, and ingots of silver were neatly placed inside, totaling 10,000 taels. Xuan Ba pointed at these 10,000 taels of silver and said to Yin, 10,000 taels of silver, please accept it with a smile, Mr. Hua. Yin remained calm on his face, but he sighed in his heart. He truly deserves to be the leader of the World Association, and he is truly generous. With this in mind, Yin slowly stood up and turned his back to the bully, allowing his entire body to show its flaws in front of him. And when Xuan Ba saw this scene, his fear of Yin couldn't help but become even stronger in his heart. In the martial arts world, there are not many people who have the courage to turn their backs to him and show their flaws all over their bodies. He just had a premonition that he might still have no choice but to take action at this moment, Yin. Just as Xuan Ba thought of these, the disciples of the Tianxia Association had already begun to clear the scene. Those who wanted to watch the excitement were all kicked out of Tongfu in one by one. Although they are dissatisfied in their hearts, they can only dare to be angry and not speak up when facing the world and the powerful. Yin was not surprised to see this. Xuan Ba has always been accustomed to being domineering, but how can others easily see his hexagram? He took 2 slow steps and arrived at the pre-prepared table, holding a brush and waving it away. Is a golden scale like a thing in a pond? It transforms into a dragon when it encounters wind and clouds. As Yin put down his brush, the words, wind and cloud, on the rice paper seemed to come to life, revealing a sense of wind and cloud. Xuan Ba stood up and walked closer. Seeing these 2 sentences written on rice paper, as well as the extremely mysterious atmosphere, his expression couldn't help but become extremely deep. He murmured a few times before asking Yin, Mr. Hua, what does this mean? Yin smiled and said, the leader of the Xuan gang is talented and has the ambition to swallow the rivers and lakes. Now he has just begun to emerge, but if he wants to go further, he still needs the help of the wind and clouds. If the male gang leader can receive help from the wind and clouds, he can leap over the dragon gate and dominate the side from now on. Upon hearing Yin's words, Xuan Ba's eyes suddenly burst into an extremely bright light. He asked Yin with some urgency, Mr. Hua, I don't know what this storm refers to. And where is it? Yin shook his head gently and replied, the times will meet, only by chance, not by force. Xuan Ba saw that Yin was unwilling to provide more explanations, and then whispered Yin's previous criticism several times, gradually revealing a hint of contemplation on his face. Yin rolled up the rice paper and handed it to Xuan Ba, saying, Feng Yun is here, Xuan gang leader, please. Upon hearing this, Xuan Ba instinctively reached out and took the rice paper from Yin's hand. He pondered over the matter of the wind and clouds, but didn't say anything more. He turned around and slowly walked towards the outside. Yin looked at the figure of Xuan Ba leaving and suddenly spoke up, I have always been here. If Xuan gang leader wants to ask for divination again in the future, he can come to me anytime. Upon hearing these words, Xuan Ba suddenly turned around and turned his gaze to Yin. He finally gave Yin a deep glance and then strode away. The protagonist is not only able to use the plot to deceive people, but also has the ability to do divination. It will be used in Chapter 9. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Tai Xian Jing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The Tai Xian Jing. Yin stood in place, watching the figure of Xuan Ba and a group of disciples of the Tianxia Association leave, and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, with the help of the system, the word wind and cloud appeared strange. Otherwise, his young appearance might not be able to withstand an old fox like Xuan Ba. Thinking of these, Yin turned his head and looked at the box next to him. The first hexagram gold is in hand. And it's still 10,000 taels of silver. Nowadays, the chi luck on Xuan Ba's body has been attached to this hexagram gold, and with just one thought, he can extract chi luck points. However, exchanging a bronze treasure chest from the system only requires 100 points of energy, exchanging a silver treasure chest requires 1,000 points of energy, and 10,000 points of energy can be directly exchanged for a gold treasure chest. Although Xuan still doesn't know what treasures can be opened in the treasure chest. But no matter what treasures can be opened in the treasure chest, for him who is now powerless, it is definitely a huge improvement. Xiong Ba, you are simply my lucky star. Xuan endured and finally couldn't help but laugh. Congratulations. Mr. Hua, you are really amazing. Just as everyone was thinking about this, Old Bai had already walked up to Xuan and gave him a thumbs up. Nowadays, the dominance of the powerful is flourishing in the martial arts world, and even the older generation of experts may not be able to remain so calm and composed when facing the powerful. Xuan chuckled at the words, but this time he was really lucky. If it weren't for encountering those disciples of the Heavenly Society, he might have starved to death and wouldn't have been able to see the powerful tycoon. With these thoughts in mind, Xuan lowered his head and glanced at the box in front of him. With a big wave of his hand, he said, "Prepare a first-class room for me to enter the room. Bring the best wine and vegetables as soon as possible." After living here for nearly a month, he left the room under the T-shaped sign, and had eaten the noodle soup mantu for more than half a month. He was already unable to support it. Now that you have money, it's natural to have a great time enjoying it. Damn it. Old Bai quickly served Xuan the best food and drinks, and then arranged to clean the room. Xuan, on the other hand, sat at the table, devouring meat and drinking alcohol without feeling too satisfied. After finishing eating and drinking, Xuan asked Lao Bai to help move the box into the room. At this moment, Manager Tong walked over and said to Xuan with a smile, "Mr. Hua, you haven't paid yet." Xuan grinned at the words and said, "Let's keep the accounts on credit first." Upon hearing Xuan's words, shopkeeper Tong's face immediately turned green. "Good guy. I've earned so much money, but I can't believe I won't give a penny." Xuan saw that shopkeeper Tong's face had changed, and he also had a helpless expression. He needs to use these 10,000 taels of silver to extract chi points first, not even 1 or 2 less. At present, we can only start with credit. We'll settle the bill after we finish pumping out our energy. I will settle the credit account later, Xuan said to appease the shopkeeper Tong. "You see, after divining for the powerful boss this time, my reputation will definitely spread. When the time comes, there will be a continuous stream of people coming to me for divination, and I can still lose your benefits." Upon hearing Xuan's words, shopkeeper Tong thought carefully and felt that what Xuan said was not unreasonable. This person lives in an inn, can they still run away? The scale of Tongfu Inn is limited, even if it is a first-class room, it is just a bit more spacious, with an additional table, a few chairs, and 2 wardrobes. However, this is already excellent for Xuan, who used to live in a room with only 1 bed in a T-shaped apartment, where he could easily get off the roof. Lao Bai looked at Xuan, who was looking at the room, and said with a smile, "If Mr. Hua needs anything else in the future, just give orders." Xuan chuckled and said, "There's nothing else to do at the moment. You can also go and get busy." After Lao Bai left, Xuan immediately opened the box that was lying on the ground. The silver ingots inside are neatly arranged, with each ingot being a standard of 10 taels. Whether on Blue Star or here, this is the first time Xuan has such amazing wealth. He lit up his eyes and took out all the silver from the box, neatly placing it on the table. There are 10 layers of 100 ingots, no more or less, exactly 1,000 ingots. It's really heavy. Xuan sighed, and after experiencing an addiction to counting money, he opened the system and incorporated all the human luck contained in the hexagram gold in front of him into it. After collecting all the chi values contained in the hexagram gold, the originally large 0 after the 3 big characters of chi values on the panel has now become 10,000. At the same time, a system beep sounded in Xuan's mind. "Congratulations to the host for obtaining 10,000 points of chi points. which can be exchanged for 100 bronze treasure chests, 10 silver treasure chests, and 1 gold treasure chest. Friendly reminder, redeem 10 treasure chests of the same type at once, and the first 3 exchanges can receive an additional welfare treasure chest as a gift. Friendly reminder, there is a certain chance of giving an additional welfare treasure chest as a high-level treasure chest reward, which is likely to obtain some kind of reward that the host currently needs. After receiving the system prompt, Ying couldn't help but show a hint of contemplation on his face. Compared to bronze and silver treasure chests, gold treasure chests are naturally the best. But if he wants to exchange it for a gold treasure chest, he can only exchange one. If it is to exchange for a silver treasure chest, you can exchange for 10, and you can also receive an additional welfare treasure chest as a gift. And there is a high probability that this welfare box will open up some kind of reward that he currently needs the most. This is definitely a case of opening a back door. A treasure chest that is 1 level higher than a silver treasure chest is naturally a gold treasure chest. Although there is a gambling element involved, exchanging for a silver treasure chest undoubtedly maximizes his benefits. Although the gold treasure chest is good, the welfare treasure chest is even better. Opening 1 gold treasure chest, 10 silver treasure chests, and 1 welfare treasure chest are obviously better options than the latter one. After some thought, Ying decided to exchange it for a silver treasure chest. Exchange for 10 silver treasure chests. As Ying's mind moved, his 10,000 points of qi luck were immediately deducted. After the qi value was reset to 0, 10 silver treasure chests measuring 2 feet square appeared in his system space. In addition, there was a special box embedded with colorful gemstones. Ying saw these 11 treasure chests and rubbed his hands. He first took out all 10 silver treasure chests and opened them one by one. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1 lower grade wash marrow pill. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Arhat Fist. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1 bonus pill. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1 bonus pill. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward of the Great Slayer. Ying looked at the reward seen from the silver treasure chest, and the hopeful expression on his face instantly tugged at him. Surprisingly, there are rewards like silver. A silver treasure chest can be converted into hexagram gold, which is 1,000 taels of silver. To exchange 1,000 taels of silver for 1,000 taels of silver is equivalent to not getting anything. 5,000 taels of silver finally opened the box, leaving Ying feeling a bit speechless. Fortunately, he also received other rewards, 2 sets of fist techniques, 2 health-enhancing pills, and 1 inferior marrow washing pill. After Ying held these 2 boosting pills and the inferior wash marrow pills in his hand, a systematic explanation involuntarily appeared in his mind. Xing Yuan Dan, after taking it, can provide 10 years of internal power accumulation based on cultivating internal mental skills. Special reward. All treasure chests are randomly produced, and the higher the level of the treasure chest, the greater the probability of obtaining it. Lower grade wash marrow pill, taking it can improve physical fitness and make it easier to cultivate. Upon seeing the explanation provided by the system regarding the enriching pill and the inferior wash marrow pill, Ying nodded lightly. These 2 types of pills, one can directly increase internal energy accumulation and the other can improve physical fitness, are both very good pills, which are very suitable for him today. Thinking of these, Ying turned his gaze to the uniquely shaped welfare chest. Welfare chest, hurry up and send a wave of benefits. Ying prayed in his heart and opened this last welfare chest with a hopeful expression on his face. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the cracked version of the reward technique, Tai Xian Jing. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the first cultivation technique and the basic knowledge of martial arts given by the system. After seeing the reward given by the last bite of the welfare box, Ying couldn't help but show a big surprise on his face. Indeed, it's a welfare package. Ying was pleasantly surprised. This welfare box truly deserves the word, welfare. This Tai Xian Jing is the most famous and top-notch technique in the Gold series, covering a wide range of techniques, including swordsmanship, boxing, lightness skills, and breathing techniques. Once mastered, all martial arts can be merged into one, regardless of boxing or swordsmanship, and one can do as one pleases. Moreover, the system provides him with basic knowledge for martial arts cultivation, which helps him save a lot of trouble. In addition, this is a cracked version of the system, so there is no obstacle to understanding words that cannot be understood. So for Ying, this is definitely a very high starting point. Immediately, Ying eagerly opened the cracked version of the Tai Xian Jing, starting from the first page. Unconsciously, several hours have passed. It was not until his stomach growled and he was so hungry that he felt dizzy that Ying lifted his head from the Tai Xian Jing. At that time, I didn't think it was exquisite when reading novels. It was only by witnessing this technique with my own eyes that I truly understood the beauty of the Tai Xian Jing. Ying let out a sigh. Having read the original work, he did not take any detours when comprehending the Tai Xian Jing. Therefore, although he only comprehended for a few short hours, he had already gained a great deal. At present, as long as he takes the inferior wash marrow pill to improve his physique, and then swallows the boosting Yuan pill, his strength will definitely be greatly enhanced. A pink and tender new book, please take care of it. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Reputation Broadcast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Reputation Broadcast. Ying eagerly swallowed the inferior wash marrow pill. The lower grade wash marrow pill melts at the entrance, transforming into a warm current surging throughout Ying's body. The feeling of soaking his whole body in a hot spring made Ying feel very comfortable. But soon, Ying's face changed. My stomach hurts so much. Ying stood up with his stomach covered, ran quickly to the toilet in the corner, took off his pants, and sat down. Immediately after, the yellow river surged out. Whew! It's great. Quickly, Ying solved the problem. At this moment, he felt like he was completely comfortable and even had a feeling of floating. Moreover, his hair has grown from half length to almost waist length, black and shiny, with excellent hair quality. I don't know whether it was because the inferior wash marrow pill improved his physique or because he was starving. Anyway, he feels like he can swallow a whole cow now. Old bye. Old bye. Ying pushed open the door and shouted a few times towards the outside. Quickly, Lao Bai came upstairs. Just before Lao Bai entered the door, he was dizzy from the huge smell. Good guy. What's the smell in Mr. Hu's room? It's too strong. Tears are burning down my face. Upon hearing Lao Bai's words, Ying couldn't help but show a hint of embarrassment on his face. He coughed lightly and said, "Let Big Mouth prepare a table for me. Can you help me clean up the toilet, move to another room, and bring a bucket of shower water over?" As he spoke, he handed Lao Bai 10 ingots of silver and said, "Please settle the previous account with the shopkeeper and leave the rest behind to continue using. Now that the fortune value of 10,000 taels of silver has been depleted, it has no special significance." He naturally has the money to settle the bill, so as not to keep Manager Tong in mind. Then he handed Old Bai a small penny of silver, which was the last remaining bit of his silver bracelet, as a tip to Old Bai. After all, helping him with the toilet was a bit painful. Ying came to the lobby on the first floor with a growling stomach, eating and drinking recklessly. The shopkeeper Tong looked at Ying with a smile on his face. There's no way, who made Ying settle his debts now and even deposit tens of taels of silver at the counter. The attitude of Manager Tong has always been excellent for customers who can send money to him. Yin didn't pay special attention to Manager Tong. After eating and drinking, he went to the newly prepared room for him by Lao Bai. Old Bai, who was following Yin, looked at him in surprise and asked, "Mr. Hua, your hair is growing fast enough." Previously, Lao Bai was busy with work and did not particularly observe Yin. At this moment of leisure, I suddenly felt that Yin was a bit different. Previously, Yin's hair was half long and not very long, which looked a bit out of place. Although dressed as a scholar, it always looks a bit unconventional. At this moment, Yin's hair inexplicably grew longer, and his temperament became more refined and elegant than before, as if he had changed a person in every aspect. Yin chuckled at the words and said, "People will eventually change." He didn't explain too much in detail. Old Bai didn't ask much and quickly left the room. Yin closed the door and took a hot bath to remove the smell from his body. Then, he changed into a clean blue robe and sat down at the table. He took out the Tai Xian Jing and began to read it carefully. I don't know if this inferior wash marrow pill has also improved his brain along with it. At this point, his comprehension of the Tai Xian Jing was much easier than before. After comprehending the entire Tai Xian Jing, Yin looked up at the sky outside the window and sat cross-legged on the bed, preparing to use breathing and breathing to replace sleep, devoting himself to cultivation. He hopes to achieve invincibility with his own strength as soon as possible. In a blink of an eye, several days passed again. After these days of spreading rumors, almost half of the people in the martial arts world have heard about the recent events that have occurred in Qixia town. The leader of the World Association, Xiong Ba, personally went to the Tongfu Inn to find a fortune teller named Yin and calculated a divination for himself. And the gold of this hexagram is as much as 10,000 taels of silver. Although all the guests present were kicked out of the inn at the time, the atmosphere was extremely amazing, and many people saw it from outside. After this incident spread, it really caused a considerable sensation. Previously, the disciples of the Tianxia Association searched everywhere for the so-called world's #1 Xiangshi Ni Bodhisattva, and everyone had heard of it. Even when facing this mud Bodhisattva, Xiongba never personally searched for it. Nowadays, facing this unknown monk named Yin, Xiongba not only personally went there, but also offered a huge fortune-telling gold of 10,000 taels of silver. From any perspective, this matter is very complicated. For a moment, everyone was very curious about this monk named Yin. Many forces have deployed manpower to investigate Yin's past experiences. Some people are also eager to find Yin to calculate a divination for themselves. At the same time, everyone was also very curious about what Yin wrote when criticizing the Xiong Ba. The world will meet. Xiong Ba looked at the three children kneeling in front of him, and his gaze focused on two of them. Nya Feng. Step by step. Once encountering wind and clouds, it transforms into a dragon. Thinking of the criticism given to him by Yin, a smile suddenly appeared on Xiong Ba's majestic face. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. This smile grew bigger and bigger, and the laughter became more and more unrestrained and domineering. He seemed to have foreseen the future and witnessed the grand scene of the world dominating the martial arts world. Mr. Hua is really amazing, he is a more powerful monk than Mud Bodhisattva. At this moment, Xiong Ba sighed at Yin's divination accuracy and urgently hoped that time would pass faster. He can't wait to see what kind of criticism Yin will give him when the time is right. Hulong Mountain Villa. In the solemn and majestic hall, a figure dressed in a black and gold python robe sat on a golden bench. He wears a golden crown on his head, has a majestic face, and an extraordinary demeanor. It is the owner of this dragon protection villa, ignored by the iron gallbladder god Ho Zhu. At this moment, in addition to Zhu Wuwu, there is also a graceful figure dressed in white in the magnificent hall. She is a daughter, but dressed in men's clothing. She is the top secret agent of the Hulong Mountain Villa, Shangguan Haitang. At the same time, he is also the owner of the famous world's #1 village. The iron gallbladder god Marquis looked at Xuan Haitang and said calmly, I heard that there has been a fortune teller in Qixia town recently, who has attracted the powerful leader to seek divination. Xuan Haitang nodded lightly and replied, Haitang has also heard about this matter and is planning to go and investigate. The Marquis of Iron Gallbladder said to Xuan Haitang, whether in the court or in the martial arts world, I do not allow anyone who I do not understand in the Dragon Protection Villa to appear. When you go this time, you must investigate his background thoroughly. Xuan Haitang bowed and said, Haitang, please comply. After Xuan Haitang left, the Iron Gallbladder god Marquis slowly stood up and turned his gaze to the distant north, where there was a Tian Shan mountain that frozen the person he cherished the most in his life. If this person really has the ability to cut his iron mouth straight, I wonder if it's possible to calculate the whereabouts of Tianxiang cardamom. Thinking of Tianxiang cardamom, the Iron Gallbladder god Marquis' eyes couldn't help but flash with a hint of determination. Up poor and green, down from the underworld, he must find the other 2 fragrant cardamoms. For 3 consecutive days, Ying never left the room for a step. During these 3 days, he almost devoted all his time except for eating and using the toilet to comprehend the Tai Xian Jing. The deeper his understanding of the Tai Xian Jing, the more he realizes its power. So much so that he even developed a feeling that he was not practicing martial arts, but rather cultivating immortality. At the beginning, there was the way, and the way was natural. It was the gateway to all the wonders, and it was both mysterious and profound. Ying murmured in a low voice, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, Ying clearly felt that the 8 extraordinary meridians in his body were connected by a warm current, and all the meridians in his body were smoothly connected at this moment. From the dantian to the meridians, there is no obstruction in the flow of internal energy, flowing smoothly and naturally. The whole person is transparent. The feeling just now should be a breakthrough in realm, right? Ying is practicing for the first time and experiencing the feeling just now, so he is not sure if the feeling just now is a breakthrough. However, he could clearly feel that after experiencing the previous changes, his physical condition had greatly improved in all aspects. Previously, he had already taken those 2 health-enhancing pills and accumulated 20 years of internal power. For Ying, who has no foundation in internal power, this is undoubtedly a huge and delightful improvement. Although his understanding of the Tai Xian Jing is not particularly profound, he feels that his current strength should have reached a very good level, at least reaching the level of innate realm. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is no longer a powerless scholar, but rather a master who truly possesses internal power and powerful combat power. In the martial arts world, there are many non-mainstream warriors. Those who can truly be called skilled must at least reach the acquired realm. Above the acquired realm, there is also innate ability. After being born, it is the Grandmaster realm. However, compared to the acquired and innate realm, that is relatively easy to cultivate. Becoming a master is not an easy task. Based on the experience and lessons learned from the previous book, the realm planning of this book will be more in line with the actual situation. Begging for everything. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Want to know more? You need to pay more. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Want to know more? You need to pay more. Tongfu Inn. Xuan Haitang, dressed in white, tied her white horse to the door and then walked into the lobby. She looked around at the scene in the lobby. In her opinion, Tongfu Inn is a very ordinary inn with nothing special about it. The only thing worth her attention was the scholar sitting alone at a table, eating and drinking. The scholar was dressed in a blue shirt, with a fair complexion, a handsome appearance, and a refined and elegant demeanor. Just sitting there doing nothing was the focus of the audience, which was hard to ignore. Before arriving at Tongfu Inn, Xuan Haitang had seen the portrait of Ying. Although Ying's hair has grown longer now, its appearance has not changed much. So she just glanced and recognized that the scholar in front of her was the Xiangshi Huayin she was looking for this time. Upon hearing this, she lifted her foot and walked towards Huayin. She approached Huayin and arched her hand, saying, "I believe this must be the famous Huayin, Mr. Hua. I, Shangguan Haitang, am the head of the world's first villa." Huayin, who was eating and drinking, heard Shangguan Haitang's words and looked up at her with a slightly curious gaze. It has to be said that although Shangguan Haitang's martial arts are not very good, he is indeed quite accomplished in the field of extraordinary abilities and magic. If it weren't for his long knowledge that Shangguan Haitang was a daughter, he wouldn't have recognized her at first glance. It's still a bit peaceful. Huayin casually glanced at Shangguan Haitang's chest, then withdrew his gaze and said calmly, "Shangguan miss, please sit down." Shangguan Haitang couldn't help but be surprised when she heard Huayin's words. How could my own daughter be seen through? You should know that besides her adoptive father, even the older brother who grew up with her in Gue Haidao did not know that she was a daughter. Huayin looked at the surprised expression on Shangguan Haitang's face and smiled slightly. If he couldn't even see it, he would be too sorry for his signature. Shangguan Haitang glanced at the smile on Huayin's face and then looked up at the sign standing next to him. The iron mouth breaks straight, with 100 tails of silver pattern. She turned her gaze back to Huayin and said, "Mr. Hua really knows how to calculate. Sit down." Huayin doesn't say much, he still needs to maintain the image of a mysterious expert. Shangguan Haitang slowly sat down opposite Huayin. Huayin poured a glass of wine for Shangguan Haitang and smiled, saying, "Shangguan miss, can you request divination?" Upon hearing Huayin's words, Shangguan Haitang's heart moved and she asked, "Can you calculate what I want to calculate?" Huayin smiled slightly and replied, "In my opinion, Shangguan miss wants to request marriage." Shangguan Haitang nodded lightly upon hearing the words and asked, "Do you know how much gold is needed for divination for me?" She knew that not long ago, Huayin had been divining for the Xiongba and had received a fortune of as much as 10,000 taels of silver. If Huayin wants so much money from her, she can't afford it now. Huayin replied, "The amount of gold in the hexagram depends on the degree to which the official girl values her marriage relationship." Shangguan Haitang pondered for a moment, then reached out to her sleeve and took out 100 taels of silver note from it. She placed the silver bill on the table and pushed it in front of Huayin, asking, "Mr. Hua, how is my marriage relationship?" Huayin glanced at the silver banknotes on the table and replied, "You and the person you love in your heart are unlikely to become family members." Shangguan Haitang's face changed once again when she heard Huayin's words. But soon, she restrained her ugly expression and asked Huayin, "How does Mr. Hua know who the person I like?" Huayin turned his head to look at the sky outside and said lightly, "The sun is setting in the west, and the heartbroken person is on the horizon." Upon hearing this, Shangguan Haitang's face changed again and again. Heartbroken people are on the horizon. Duan Tianya. Until now, Shangguan Haitang truly believed that Huayin was a true capable physiognomy who could break his iron tongue straight away. Just thinking that the big brother she had always admired would not become her significant other, her mood became very bad. After adjusting her emotions, she couldn't help but ask Huayin, "Mr. Hua, I don't know who my significant other would be." At this moment, Shangguan Haitang is really curious. If she can't walk with her big brother, who will she walk with? Huayin shook his head upon hearing this, but did not answer Shangguan Haitang's question. He reached out his right index finger and lightly tapped the silver note in front of him, saying, "That's another price. 100 taels of silver is already a good answer. Do you want to know more? You need to pay more." Shangguan Haitang. Shangguan Haitang temporarily let go of her curiosity about her partner and asked Huayin, "Would Mr. Hua be willing to join our world's #1 village and become the world's #1 physiognomy?" Huayin shook his head and replied, "I don't need to be recognized by your world's #1 village, whether I am the world's #1 physiognomy or not. Xuan Haitang was not surprised by Hui Yin's refusal. After all, Hui Yin is a person with real abilities, how could he easily join a certain force? After some thought, she stood up and bowed to Hui Yin, ready to leave. Hui Yin saw that Xuan Haitang was about to leave, so he said to Xuan Haitang, "Xuan miss, I advise you not to spend any time investigating my background. You won't be able to find out. He is a traveler, and he is wearing it. Unless the people of Hulong Villa also have a system, it is absolutely impossible to find any details about him." Upon hearing Hui Yin's words, Xuan Haitang took a deep look at him and said, "There is nothing in this world that our Dragon Protection Villa cannot find. Since Hui Yin can count everything, her identity must have been exposed, so there is nothing to hide." This time she was ordered to investigate Hui Yin, and it is inevitable that she will investigate Hui Yin's identity and background thoroughly. Hui Yin smiled slightly upon hearing the words and said, "Why don't you go back and ask the Marquis of Iron Gallbladder? Over the years, has he found the whereabouts of the other 2 Tianxiang cardamoms?" Tianxiang cardamom. Xuan Haitang glanced at Hui Yin with some confusion. At this time, she was not aware of the importance of Tianxiang cardamom to the Iron Gallbladder god Marquis. So at this moment, when Hui Yin mentioned Tianxiang cardamom, he couldn't help but feel a bit puzzled and vaguely felt that this matter was very important. After some thought, she didn't say anything more and turned to walk towards the upstairs guest room. She is going back to her room and using a flying pigeon to send a message to her adoptive father asking about Tianxiang cardamom. Hui Yin watched Xuan Haitang leave with a satisfied smile on his face. He seemed to have seen a large box of divination coins flying towards him. Hui Yin withdrew his gaze, casually collected the silver banknotes on the table, and then returned to the room. It is worth mentioning that in this world of martial arts, major dynasties stand side by side, trade with each other is frequent, and economic development is highly prosperous. Due to the inconvenience of carrying a large amount of gold and silver in cross-border trade, silver bills with circulation seals of major dynasties gradually became no longer simply a voucher for exchanging silver, but can be used as a credible real currency. So when the system extracts the chi value, the value of silver tickets and silver coins is equal. At this moment, Hui Yin planned to exchange the 100 points of chi luck attached to this silver ticket for a bronze treasure chest to see what could be opened inside. After he opened the bronze treasure chest he had exchanged, a ginseng plant appeared in front of him. Ling Shen, taken in soup, can increase internal power accumulation by 3 years. After seeing the explanation provided by the system, Hui Yin's face showed a satisfied smile. What he lacks now is the accumulation of internal strength. Although it has only been 3 years, it is better than nothing. As long as it's not a silver reward, I can accept it. Hui Yin opened the door and called Lao Bai up, asking him to take Ling Shen to boil soup. And he returned to his room to continue his understanding of the Tai Xian Jing. 1 day later. The Iron Gallbladder god Marquis, who was far away in Hulong Mountain Villa, received a flying pigeon message from Xuan Haitang. When he saw what Xuan Haitang had written in the secret letter, his face suddenly changed. Tianxiang cardamom. He really knows the whereabouts of Tianxiang cardamom. The Iron Gallbladder god Marquis was extremely excited. Over the years, he has wielded immense power and secretly established this intelligence agency with the aim of searching for the whereabouts of Tianxiang cardamom, which has spread throughout the world. But to this day, the other 2 Tianxiang cardamoms have not been found. Seeing that Hui Yin was very likely to know the whereabouts of the other 2 Tianxiang cardamoms, he couldn't sit still. However, amidst excitement, there was also a hint of unease in his heart. Hui Yin's calculation ability is really quite amazing. They had never met before, but Hui Yin knew he had been searching everywhere for Tianxiang cardamom. Does this mean that some of the things he has done and some wild hopes in his heart have also been known by Hui Yin? The thought of Hui Yin already knowing him like the palm of his hand, but he still knew nothing about Hui Yin, made Iron Gallbladder God Ho's face darken. No matter what price I pay, I will definitely get those 2 Tianxiang cardamoms. As he spoke, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis suddenly stood up and loudly said, "Someone prepare a horse." He wants to immediately set off for the Tongfu Inn in Qixia town to personally meet this mysterious Mr. Hua. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Divine Marquis arrives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Divine Marquis arrives. Qixia town, Tongfu Inn. In an instant it was Huayin's 3rd month at Tongfu Inn. After experiencing the initial difficulties, Huayin's life is getting better and better now. Martial arts are also steadily improving day by day. Now Huayin is able to release his true qi and fight cows from the air, truly reaching the innate realm. According to the system prompt, his realm should be in the early innate stage now. It can already be considered as a first-class expert in the martial arts world. However, the actual combat effectiveness is still an unknown number. After all, he has never dealt with anyone before and still lacks some combat experience. It is said that Dongfang Bubi on the Blackwood Cliff is also an innate realm. Now, perhaps I can already play a few moves against Dongfang Bubi. Thinking of these, Huayin shook his head again. He just wants to think about this kind of thing now. If he really wants to fight, not to mention the tricks, he can see clearly the body technique of Dongfang Bubi, which is considered good. The leader of the Sun and Moon divine cult, the Eastern Invincible, is also a significant presence in the Ming dynasty's martial arts world. But compared to the powerful players, Dongfang Bubi is a bit lacking. But after all, this is a world of comprehensive martial arts, and anything is possible. Perhaps Dongfang Bubi had already gained other adventures, and perhaps their strength had already reached a higher level. After some contemplation, Huayin no longer considered these matters. What he needs to play now is the role of an iron-mouthed and straightforward fortune teller. Whoever makes a fortune will do it for him, regardless of good or bad, regardless of gender, and treated equally. Dong dong dong. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door from outside. Immediately after, Lao Bai's voice came in. "Mr. Hua, there is a high-ranking official in the lobby who wants to invite you downstairs to have tea." Upon hearing Lao Bai's words, Huayin responded, "I understand." During the conversation, Huayin had already stood up and tidied up his clothes in front of the copper mirror in the room. Then he opened the door and went downstairs to the lobby. In the lobby, Shangguan Haitang sat upright at a table, already ordering a table full of food and drinks. When she saw Huayin coming downstairs, she stood up and made an invitation gesture, saying, "Mr. Hua, please." Huayin nodded lightly and naturally sat down at the table. He glanced at the table full of dishes and said with a smile, "Miss Shangguan is so polite, is she going to have another divination?" Shangguan Haitang's gaze at Huayin became extremely delicate upon hearing this. Because Huayin guessed correctly, she did intend to do another divination. "Mr. Hua, I do want to ask you to do another divination for me." As she spoke, Shangguan Haitang placed 100 taels of silver note on the table as before and pushed it in front of Huayin. Huayin glanced at the 100 taels of silver banknotes, shook his head gently, and said, "I have a rule that within a year, if the same person comes to me for a second divination, the divination gold will increase 10 times compared to the previous one. This is not a requirement of the system, but rather the rules set by Huayin himself. The purpose is naturally to earn more divination gold." Shangguan Haitang didn't expect Huayin to have such rules, but she didn't ask much and just took out 1,000 taels and placed them in front of Huayin. "No matter how much money you spend, it's worth it to figure out your marriage in this lifetime." Huayin looked at the stack of silver bills in front of him, with no expression on his face, but he was sighing in his heart. Besides the big shots, this woman's money is really the best to earn. He effortlessly reached out and collected the silver banknotes on the table, then slowly said to Shangguan Haitang, who was already somewhat eager, "You're hit, there are 3 people who are destined to be with you. 3 people. Shangguan Haitang couldn't help but show a hint of surprise on her face upon hearing this. Huayin said with a faint tone, the golden dragon is swimming in the pond, and the Pishio swallows gold. Suddenly, looking back, that person is in the dimly lit area. Shangguan Haitang frowned slightly when she heard Huayin's words. What does this mean? Huayin saw Shangguan Haitang frown and ponder, but didn't disturb him. He picked up his chopsticks and started eating. The food cooked by this big mouth is not only delicious, but at least the taste is not bad. However, no matter what kind of food, it should be eaten while it is hot. If it's cold, it won't taste good. Just as Huayin was enjoying his meal, Shangguan Haitang suddenly asked Huayin, can Mr. Hua clarify who these 3 people are? Huayin put down his chopsticks, wiped his mouth with a handkerchief, and then shook his head and said, if I want to reveal the identities of these 3 people, you may not be able to get together with anyone, so it's best not to ask too much detail. Upon hearing Huayin's advice, Shangguan Haitang hesitated for a moment before finally dispelling the idea of breaking through the clay pot and asking the truth. Some things, knowing too clearly, may not necessarily be a good thing. Just as Huayin was about to continue eating, a tall figure suddenly walked in outside the inn. This person is dressed in a red and gold robe, with a golden crown on his head. In middle age, his face is majestic, and he exudes the powerful aura of a superior from top to bottom, making him feel awe at first glance. Upon seeing this person, Shangguan Haitang immediately stood up somewhat surprised and walked over quickly. Father, why did you come? Upon hearing Shangguan Haitang's words, the iron gallbladder god Marquis, who galloped all the way, said calmly, upon hearing about Mr. Hua's fame, I couldn't help but want to see this young and talented person with my own eyes. During the conversation, the iron gallbladder god Marquis had already walked to the opposite side of Huayin and sat down. He looked at Huayin with a very oppressive gaze and asked, Mr. Hua, won't you not welcome me? Huayin smiled slightly and said, I'm not the shopkeeper of this inn. How could I not welcome the iron gallbladder god Marquis? Not far away. The guests who were dining were extremely surprised when they heard the conversation between Huayin and Tai Dan Shenho. A month ago, the leader of the Tianxia Guild, Xiongba, personally came to seek divination from Huayin, causing him to become famous in the martial arts world. I didn't expect even the famous iron gallbladder god Marquis to come today. Could it be that the iron gallbladder god Marquis also came to seek divination from Huayin? If that's the case, then when today's news spreads, I'm afraid the entire Jianghu will once again be shaken by the name Huayin. Welcome, warm welcome. Shopkeeper Tong looked at the iron gallbladder god Marquis, who was calm and confident, with a very happy smile on his face. What others see is the status of the iron gallbladder god Marquis, but what she sees is white silver. Old Bai, hurry up and remove all these plates. Let Big Mouth replace the divine Marquis with a new one and get the best one. And wine, the most expensive. The best. Under the command of Manager Tong, Old Bai quickly took away the food on the table and asked Big Mouth to replace it with a new one. The iron gallbladder god Marquis was staring at Huayin without any movement. But Shangguan Haitang was very clever and went to the counter to check out. Manager Tong received Shangguan Haitang with a smile on his face and silently charged an extra 10 taels of silver for the service fee. Huayin has been staying at Tongfu Inn for so many days, so he naturally has an understanding of the prices at Tongfu Inn. When he heard the quotation from shopkeeper Tong to Shangguan Haitang, he knew that shopkeeper Tong had received a lot of extra money. He couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle. This shopkeeper Tong is really impressive. He dares to earn anyone's money. Upon seeing Huayin's movements, the iron gallbladder god Marquis asked, why does Mr. Hua shake his hair and smile? Huayin sighed deeply upon hearing the words and replied, I laugh at all the infatuated people in the world. They have been infatuated for a lifetime, and they have also suffered for a lifetime. Upon hearing this, the iron gallbladder god Marquis' gaze immediately darkened as he looked at Xuan. He said in a somewhat low tone, "Mr. Hua really knows everything." Xuan smiled slightly and replied, "At least I know that my life is still long and I won't die today." The Marquis of Iron Gallbladder said coldly, "That's not necessarily true." Xuan looked at the Iron Gallbladder Divine Marquis playfully and said, "It's okay if the Divine Marquis wants to test me, but after the test, the price of this hexagram gold will increase. Moreover, there are some things that I may not be willing to privately chat with you about. Anyway, he is immune to all kinds of damage, and no matter how powerful the Iron Gallbladder God Ho is, he cannot harm him. If he doesn't take advantage of this opportunity to raise prices and then use the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis to do a wave of promotion, he will be really sorry for the big spender who came to his door voluntarily." The Iron Gallbladder God Marquis looked at the calm smile on Xuan's face and vaguely felt that he couldn't do anything about him, but more importantly, he still felt that Xuan was bluffing. "It's just a trivial gossip, no matter how much it's multiplied, he can afford it." Upon hearing this, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis no longer hesitated and raised his right hand to grab towards Xuan. Dragon Claw Skill. Xuan sat calmly in the same spot, as if he had not seen the Iron Gallbladder Divine Marquis take action, letting the Iron Gallbladder Divine Marquis' paw fall on his shoulder. With the power of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, even a piece of iron would be torn apart with this claw, but it failed to cause any damage to Xuan, and even Xuan's clothes could not be torn to pieces. Faced with this situation, the face of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis couldn't help but darken. The strength division of this book is basically based on the original work, and there will be no significant fluctuations. Of course, this is just the beginning. Because the characters in the book will also have adventures and gains in the world of comprehensive martial arts, and their strength will also increase or decrease. This is a breathing world, with changes and new things happening. Stay tuned. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. 10,000 Liang of Hexagram Gold. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. 10,000 Liang of Hexagram Gold. When the guests around saw the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis attacking Xuan, they all sweated coldly for Xuan. This Iron Gallbladder God Marquis' reputation is far and wide, which cannot be compared to those disciples of the Tianxia society. In the eyes of everyone, Xuan was completely unguarded, which was somewhat exaggerated. "I'm afraid I'll have to pay the price for my arrogance." But to everyone's surprise, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis' seemingly extremely dangerous claw did not cause any harm to Xuan, and even his clothes could not be scratched to pieces. Is it that the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis is just joking with Xuan? Everyone looked at the scene before them, feeling extremely puzzled. "Master, this is a master." Lao Bai looked at Xuan and exclaimed repeatedly. Upon hearing this, shopkeeper Tong whispered, "Who do you think is a master?" Lao Bai glanced at the shopkeeper Tong and replied, "Of course it's Mr. Hua." The Iron Gallbladder God Marquis' claw has used at least 50% of its strength, and even experts in the innate realm may not dare to take it. But look at Mr. Hua, this is called a calm and easy one. Upon hearing Lao Bai's words, shopkeeper Tong whispered, "Mr. Hua is really amazing." Shengguan Haitang, who had just finished paying the bill, couldn't help but become extremely complicated when she heard manager Tong sigh. Her adoptive father, Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, is a master in the Grandmaster realm. In the martial arts world, there are not many people who are qualified to be opponents of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, and it is even rarer to have the courage to forcefully attack the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. Today, Xuan not only forcefully grasped the claw of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, but also remained unscathed. Isn't this to say that Xuan's strength is far superior to that of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis? Thinking of these, Shengguan Haitang couldn't help but show a worried expression on her face. If Xuan is really a great master, then Iron Gallbladder God Marquis is afraid of danger. In front of the table, Xuan looked at the gloomy Iron Gallbladder God Marquis and smiled slightly, asking, God Marquis, do you still want to continue? Upon hearing Xuan's words, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis slowly stopped and did not continue to test Xuan. Because he knows very well that no matter what, he can't do anything about Xuan. Xuan's strength far exceeds his imagination. Judging from Xuan's appearance, he is only in his 20s, how could he possess such powerful strength? Is it possible that some mysterious old monster has returned to life? In his impression, it seems that there is no old monster in the Ming dynasty that fits Xuan's situation. After some contemplation, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis no longer hesitated about these matters. He arched his hand at Xuan and said, Mr. Hua has excellent martial arts skills, and I admire him. Xuan smiled slightly at the words and said, as long as the Marquis of God remembers what I just said. Hands on probing, double the gold of divination. Marquis Taidan did not expect that Xuan was most concerned about the issue of hexagram gold. This not only gave him a mysterious and powerful understanding of Xuan, but also added another layer of greed. I don't know how much Mr. Hua thinks the hexagram gold should increase. The Marquis of Iron Gallbladder asked Xuan about his appetite. Xuan did not directly answer, but instead threw the question to the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. He said, the amount of hexagram gold depends on how important that girl is in the God Marquis' heart. Upon hearing Xuan say, that girl, the Marquis of Iron Gallbladder couldn't help but deepen his fear of Xuan by 3 points. He wanted to talk to Xuan alone, but when he thought of what Xuan had said before, he could only give up. Unfortunately, with his strength, he couldn't do anything about Xuan. Otherwise, he would definitely silence Xuan after divination. With this in mind, the Marquis of Iron Gallbladder silently took out a silver note with a face value of 10,000 taels and placed it on the table, slowly pushing it towards Xuan. He looked at Xuan and said, I heard that the leader of the World Association Xiong Ba spent 10,000 taels of silver to obtain a hexagram. Now, I also exchanged 10,000 taels of silver for Mr. Hua's hexagram. How about that? Xuan smiled and said, you have to double it 10 times, 100,000 taels. 100,000 taels. When everyone heard Xuan's words, a surprised expression appeared on their faces. Originally, everyone thought that Xuan was saying to double, that is, to double or triple. I never expected Xuan to open his mouth and ask for 100,000 taels, which is a full tenfold increase. This is like a lion opening its mouth. Okay. Just as everyone was surprised, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis readily agreed. A mere 100,000 taels of silver, compared to Su Xian, it's nothing at all. However, I did not carry so much silver with me. Within 3 days, I will definitely deliver a considerable amount of it to Mr. Hua. Xuan nodded lightly. Since the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis had made a promise in public, he would not break his promise. Moreover, his strength is displayed here, and it is certain that the Iron Cowardly God Marquis has no courage to backtrack. Upon seeing Xuan nod his head, the Marquis of Iron Gallbladder directly asked, since that's the case, please ask Mr. Hua to tell me where exactly what I want is. Xuan was well aware of the principle that too much is better than too much, so after achieving a promotional effect, he did not speak directly. Instead, he picked up a brush placed aside, did not dip it in ink, and danced on the rice paper. When he handed the rice paper to Tai Dan Shenho, he looked at the blank rice paper and suddenly, a big, Chao, character popped out in front of him. Seeing the soft and sinister character, Chao, the Marquis of Iron Gallbladder couldn't help but look up at Xuan, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. On the rice paper, there were no words or ink, but the word Chao could be revealed in front of his eyes. Such methods were indeed extraordinary. Xuan saw that Iron Gallbladder God Marquis' face had changed, and he knew that Iron Gallbladder God Marquis already had an answer in his heart. He said nothing more and calmly lowered his head to drink tea. After a moment, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis turned his gaze back to Xuan and asked, "There are still 2 of these things in the world, and where is the other one?" Xuan put down his teacup and asked, "Is this the second hexagram of the Divine Marquis?" The Iron Gallbladder God nodded. The whereabouts of a Tianxiang cardamom can be considered as a hexagram, which is reasonable. However, Shangguan Haitang, who was standing on the side, couldn't help but change her expression slightly when she saw Iron Gallbladder Divine Marquis nodding. According to Huayin's rules, this second hexagram will be multiplied tenfold. This first hexagram has already paid a price of 100,000 taels of silver. Isn't this second hexagram worth 1 million taels? Just as Shangguan Haitang was thinking about these things, Huayin spoke up and said, "I have a rule here. When calculating the second hexagram, the gold of the hexagram should be multiplied 10 times. Shangguan Miss is very clear about this. If you don't believe in the Divine Marquis, you can ask her." Upon hearing Huayin's words, the Marquis of Iron Gallbladder turned his gaze to Shangguan Haitang standing aside. After seeing Shangguan Haitang nod lightly, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis knew that Huayin was not raising the price temporarily, but that there were indeed such rules. Is it worth 1 million taels of divination? Value. For the sake of Su Xian, no matter what cost you pay, it's worth it. Just not now. After obtaining the second Tianxiang cardamom in Chao Jingchuan's hand, it's not too late to ask for this third Tianxiang cardamom. With these thoughts in mind, Marquis Taidan stood up and said to Huayin, "Mr. Hua, I will bid farewell first, and the remaining 90,000 taels will be delivered within 3 days." After saying these words, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis walked towards the outside. He needs to go back and find Chao Jingchun. Shangguan Haitang saw the departure of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis and immediately chased after him. After they all left, Huayin collected the 10,000 taels of silver notes on the table. As soon as he thought of 90,000 taels left, Huayin felt very comfortable in his heart. 100,000 taels, which can be exchanged for 10 gold chests and an additional welfare chest. It's so comfortable. Huayin's face was full of smiles, and it was certain that after the news of today spread, there would be an endless stream of people coming to him for divination. When the time comes, a little makes a lot. Not to mention being a gold treasure chest, platinum and diamond treasure chests are also easily obtainable. Just as Huayin was happy, Old Bai had already brought up all the freshly prepared dishes. He gave Huayin a thumbs up and said, "Mr. Hua is really amazing. I used to think that 1 hexagram would cost 100 taels of silver more, but now it seems like that's really a fair price." The previous tyrant came to seek divination and spent 10,000 taels of silver. Just now, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis came to seek divination and spent 100,000 taels of silver. At this moment, looking back at the hexagram gold on this sign that reads, "Iron Mouth Straight Cut, Silver Grain of 100 taels, that's really quite cheap." Huayin smiled and asked Lao Bai, "Why don't you also have a divination?" Old Bai shook his head and said, "Let's forget about it. I only earned a few dollars this month, so I can't afford it. He runs around this inn and only earns a little silver in a month. If you want to gather enough of these 100 taels of divination gold, you have to do it for many years without eating or drinking." Huayin doesn't force it either. After Lao Bai left, he ate happily. Today, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis came to him for divination. When the news spread, Chao Jingchun may not be able to sit still. Maybe Chao Jingchun will also come to him for divination. Upon reflection, this is another big spender. This world is really beautiful, there are so many gold lords. Huayin had enough to eat and drink, with a smile on his face, and went upstairs to continue practicing. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Duke Chao also came to seek divination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Duke Chao also came to seek divination. As expected by Huayin, after 3 days, the news of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis coming to seek divination spread in the martial arts world. As an expert in the Grandmaster realm and a relative of the imperial family, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis has a very high reputation in the martial arts world. Compared to the world guild leader Xiong Ba, their identity and status are much higher. Even such a prestigious prince had to personally go to Tongfu Inn to seek divination from Huayin, which made everyone even more curious about Huayin. Those who were already restless could no longer sit still and set off for Qixia town, wanting to see Huayin with their own eyes and ask for a divination for themselves. Beijing. Dongchang. A delicate figure with graying hair and dressed in a purple brocade dress sat on a chair in the hall, silently looking down at the intelligence in her hand. As an old rival of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, Chao Jingchun has always been very concerned about his every move. He is aware of the fact that the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis left Hulong Mountain Villa and went to Tongfu Inn in Qixia town. And not long after the departure of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, the events that occurred at the Tongfu Inn, as well as the conversation between the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis and Huayin, have been sorted out in every detail and rushed to the capital without stopping. This is already his 3rd time reading this intelligence, and every time he reads it, he can see something different from it. Even the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis' claw failed to cause any damage to him. This person's martial arts skills are indeed quite impressive. Chao Jingchun murmured in a low voice, with a faint expression of fear on his face. When did such a mysterious expert appear in the martial arts world? Chao Jingchun was puzzled and had already sent someone to investigate Huayin's situation a month ago. Just a month has passed, and they haven't found any trace of Huayin's origin. Huayin seemed to suddenly jump out of a stone, mysterious to the extreme. This Huayin, even if he came here from another dynasty, should have some clues. Chao Jingchun murmured in a low voice, then folded up the intelligence in his hand and placed it on the nearby table. Pai Xiaotian, who was standing by, looked at Chao Jingchun frowning and pondering, and asked in a low voice, "Your Highness, this monk dares to help the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis with divination. This clearly does not take our East Factory seriously. Do you want me to bring the black-robed arrow team to warn this divination?" Chao Jingchun glanced up at Pai Xiaotian and asked, "Are you impatient with living? Even the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis can't do anything about him. Do you think you can do it? Even if you are foolish to death, it's okay. If you provoke him and let him take the blame on our family, what should you do?" Pai Xiaotian originally wanted to share Chao Jingchun's worries, but when he heard Chao Jingchun's words, he quickly knelt down on the ground and said in a panic, "Damn it! Damn it!" Chao Jingchun snorted coldly and said, "Get up." He also knew that Pai Xiaotian's starting point was good, but it was just a lack of careful consideration. Just give a verbal lesson, but it won't really punish Pai Xiaotian. Upon hearing this, Pai Xiaotian felt as if he had been granted amnesty and quickly stood up. He looked respectfully at Chao Jingchun, hesitated for a moment, and then said, "Sir, actually I have come up with a solution." Chao Jingchun frowned and asked, "What bad idea have you come up with again?" Upon hearing this, Pai Xiaotian suggested to Chao Jingchun, "Sir, since the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis can seek divination from Huayin, can you also seek divination?" Upon hearing Pai Xiaotian's proposal, Chao Jingchun couldn't help but brighten his eyes and said, "You keep talking." Pai Xiaotian continued, "Sir, look, the leader of the World Association, Xiong Ba, went to seek divination from Huayin. Huayin gave it up, and the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis went to seek divination from Huayin. Huayin also gave it up. Moreover, he received even more divination gold from the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, and did not treat him favorably just because of his status and status. Does this mean that as long as adults are willing to pay the price of divination gold, they can also come to Huayin for divination? And this Huayin's iron mouth is straight open, maybe he knows how to deal with the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. Upon hearing Pai Xiaotian's words, Chao Jingchun nodded lightly and said, "What you said makes sense. Yin must have some real skills. If our family also asks him to divine, maybe we can really find a way to deal with the iron gallbladder god Marquis." Pai Xiaotian agreed and said, "Your Majesty is wise." Chao Jingchun looked up at Pi Xiaotian with a satisfied smile on his face and said, "You've made up for it, kid. You've done a good job." During the conversation, Chao Jingchun had already stood up and instructed Pai Xiaotian, "Prepare horses for our family. We need to personally go to the Tongfu Inn in Qixia town." Whether it was a tyrant or a iron gallbladder marquis, they all personally went to the Tongfu Inn in Qixia town to seek divination from Yin. He is naturally no exception. Qixia town. Tongfu Inn. Since the news of Yin divining for the iron gallbladder god Marquis came out, many people from the martial arts world have come to Qixia town and Tongfu Inn in the past few days, just to see Mr. Hua, who is said to have a broken iron mouth. After seeing Yin, who was tall, handsome, and had a free-spirited and unrestrained demeanor, everyone felt that seeing is not as good as hearing. The real Yin gives people a feeling that is even more extraordinary than rumors. In recent days, Yin has long been accustomed to the behavior of others like visiting the zoo. The only regret is that these people are just watching the excitement, and no one actively seeks him for divination. This has somewhat disappointed him. But soon Yin's face showed a smile, because a big gold owner had arrived. Chao Jingchun, with white hair and a gentle temperament, walked slowly into the inn and walked straight to Yin. He chuckled at Yin and said politely, "I've heard of Mr. Hua's name for a long time. I've had the privilege of meeting him today. It's truly a blessing in my life." Yin smiled and said, "I have been waiting for Duke Chao for a long time." Chao Jingchun's smile grew stronger and he said, "Mr. Hua is indeed impressive." Yin casually made an invitation gesture, and Chao Jingchun took the opportunity to sit down. The guests around and the onlookers in the martial arts world looked at Yin and Chao Jingchun sitting opposite each other with curious expressions on their faces. The person referred to by Yin as Duke Chao looks like a eunuch. Is it possible that the supervisor from the East Factory has arrived? It is said that Chao Gonggang from the East Factory and the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis from Hulong Mountain Villa have always been at odds. The Iron Gallbladder God Marquis only left with his front foot, and this Duke Chao followed with his back foot. Probably also to seek a hexagram from Yin. I just don't know what exactly Chao Gonggang wants to calculate. Under the curious gaze of the crowd, Chao Jingchun asked Yin, "Mr. Hua, would you mind if we clean up the house? Or should we go to the guest room upstairs and have a chat?" He wanted to inquire about Yin, as it was related to the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. And the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis is now the uncle of the Holy One, a relative of the imperial family. In front of everyone, some of his words were really difficult to say. Yin chuckled at the words and said, "Chao Gonggang has concerns. I can understand, but Chao Gonggang doesn't need to worry too much, because I have already calculated Chao Gonggang's intentions. As long as Chao Gonggang pays the divination money, I will naturally point out a clear path for Chao Gonggang." Upon hearing Yin's words, Chao Jingchun's smile immediately became as bright as a chrysanthemum. He looked at Yin with a smile on his face and said with great joy, Mr. Hua, we really regret meeting too late." During his speech, Chao Jingchun had already drawn 10 silver bills from his sleeve, each with a face value of 1,000 taels of silver, totaling 10,000 yuan. He said to Yin, "We know Mr. Hua's rules, and please ask Mr. Hua to help us clarify." Yin glanced at the silver note that Chao Jingchun had placed on the table and said, "I know someone who can share Chao Gonggang's worries. As long as Chao Gonggang finds him and persuades him, he can naturally solve his serious problems." Upon hearing this, Chao Jingchun immediately asked, "Who is this person?" Yin shook his head lightly and replied, "I won't tell Duke Chao the name of this person, but I can tell him where he is." Chao Jingchun eagerly asked, where is he then? Huayin smiled slightly, picked up his pen again, and wrote the 4 big characters, Heavenly Prison Bottom, on the rice paper. In Huayin's view, there are many people in the martial arts world who can deal with the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, but the most suitable person is only one, and that is the unbeaten mischievous Gu Santong. The Iron Gallbladder God Marquis is rampant in the martial arts world with his one-handed suction technique, but the Vajra immortal skill of the ancient 3 links can perfectly counter the suction technique. The Iron Gallbladder God Marquis is naturally at a disadvantage when facing the ancient 3 links. In addition, the Iron Gallbladder Divine Marquis plotted against the 8 major sects, framed the ancient 3 links, and seized the Su Xian. If Gu Santong knew all of this, he would definitely work tirelessly with the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. Now he has already told Chao Jingchun the answer to dealing with the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. The rest depends on how Chao Jingchun operates. Chao Jingchun took the rice paper from Huayin's hand and looked at the 4 big characters, the bottom layer of the heavenly prison, on the rice paper, which showed a dark luster. He couldn't help but be surprised. The dim light emanating from this handwriting really gives people a feeling of being trapped in a prison. However, the bottom layer of this dungeon has always been guarded by the people of Hulong Mountain Villa. He has never entered the bottom layer of this dungeon and is unaware of what prisoners are being held inside. At this point, according to Huayin's suggestion, there should be an opponent in the bottom layer of the prison who is extremely feared by the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. If he could find this person and take him for his own use, perhaps he could really solve the heart-wrenching problem of the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. Thinking of these, Chao Jingchun's face once again showed a smile. He stood up and saluted Huayin, saying, "Our family is here to thank Mr. Hua. I want to write something different here, such as what happens when the ancient 3 links are not dead. What do you think?" End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Ying seeks trigrams. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Ying seeks trigrams. Chao Jingchun left with satisfaction. The onlookers were now filled with questioning marks. What did Huayin write to Chao Jingchun? Why is Chao Jingchun so happy? At this moment, everyone was extremely curious in their hearts, scratching their ears and cheeks, wishing to directly grab the rice paper in Chao Jingchun's hand. Huayin didn't pay attention to the situation of the people around him. He smiled and put away the 10,000 taels of silver, saying happily to Lao Bai, add 2 more dishes tonight. I want meat dishes. Another large amount of divination money has been put into the bag, and one must have a good meal to reward oneself. Upon hearing Huayin's shout, Lao Bai smiled and agreed, all right, today we must show Mr. Hua some real skills with big mouth. On the other side, shopkeeper Tong walked over and sat down in front of Huayin. With a smile on his face, he said, I really envy Mr. Hua for making money. She runs this inn and her business has always been average. It wasn't until recently that Huayin's reputation in the martial arts world gradually became well known, and more people came to admire her, that she earned more money. Compared to the divination gold earned by Huayin, the silver she earned is just a drop in the bucket. Upon hearing Manager Tong's words, Huayin picked up his teacup and took a sip of the hot tea he had just served, then responded, I haven't opened my business for 3 years, I've been eating it for 3 years. I've been through so much hardship before, and you know, manager. It's really not easy to get through it. Upon hearing this, Manager Tong nodded in agreement. Huayin used to eat mantu in noodle soup every day. He felt uncomfortable just looking at it. Fortunately, Huayin survived and finally lived a good life. With these thoughts in mind, Manager Tong smiled and said to Huayin, Mr. Hua, do you think it's beneath your dignity to just sit in the lobby and do divination? I'm planning to tailor a counter specifically for you to do divination. What do you think? Upon hearing Manager Tong's words, Huayin showed a playful expression on his face and smiled, saying, Manager Tong is so kind to me, so I think he must have something to ask for. Manager Tong nodded and said, "Be careful with this, of course you can't hide it from Mr. Hua. Ying has been staying at Tongfu Inn for so many days, and he has also been on credit several times." Even Manager Tong did not give him a bad impression. Now that he has the ability, it's not difficult to make some money with Manager Tong. Immediately, he said to Shopkeeper Tong, "I have a clear idea in my heart. Please rest assured, shopkeeper." Upon hearing this, Shopkeeper Tong immediately expressed gratitude and said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Hua." During the conversation between Yin and Manager Tong, among the onlookers in the martial arts world, someone finally couldn't help but walk over and say to Yin, "Mr. Hua, can you help me calculate a hexagram?" Yin glanced up at the newcomer. This person has a burly figure, a rough face, thick eyebrows and big eyes, and is dressed in black strong clothing. He looks very upright. At this moment, the expression on his face was extremely respectful, and there was also a faint expectation for the future in his eyes. Obviously, he came for a future. Yin smiled slightly and said, "Brother, how about we chat while drinking?" The big man understood the words and immediately said to the shopkeeper Tong, "Shopkeeper, come to a jar of apricot blossom village." Shopkeeper Tong smiled happily and hurriedly said, "Sir, wait a moment. The wine will be delivered soon. This Xinghua village is the best wine in Tongfu Inn, and one jar costs 3 taels of silver. Usually, there aren't many people in Qixia town willing to drink such good wine." Under Yin's guidance, this big man bought this jar of apricot blossom village. Manager Tong can make a lot of money. Mr. Hua is really amazing. Manager Tong left happily. The big man also took the opportunity to sit opposite Yin. He looked at Yin and introduced with some restraint, "I, Ying, am a crude person. If there is anything that is not thoughtful enough, please don't blame Mr. Hua." Yin looked at Ying and said with a smile, "Relax, there's no need to be so reserved." As he spoke, Yin's face also showed a faint look of anticipation. He is looking forward to divining for Ying. Because this Ying is not any well-known figure in the world of martial arts that he knows, but a pure stranger. This also means that he finally needs to rely on the system's ability to do divination. This made him feel very excited. Ying took out a wrinkled 100 taels of silver ticket and handed it to Yin with slightly reluctant hands. This is the silver note he exchanged from the bank with all his silver yesterday, and he has been holding it back and forth for a while. Now, in order to obtain a hexagram from Yin, even if I am extremely reluctant, I still have to give this silver ticket. Yin reached out and took the silver note from Ying's hand, asking, "What do you want to count?" Ying took a deep breath and asked, "Mr. Hua, do you think I still have hope to be born in this lifetime?" When everyone around heard Ying's words, a look of concern appeared on their faces. They are not caring about Ying, but about themselves. Most of the martial artists here today are just inexperienced warriors. There are only a few second-rate masters in the acquired realm. Ying is one of these second-rate masters in the acquired realm. He is already 30.8 years old today and has been stuck in the bottleneck of the later stage for 10 years. He didn't know if he had a chance to break through to the perfect state after birth, or even the innate state. Feeling extremely confused in his heart, after hearing about Yin's reputation, he wanted Yin to do some divination for himself. See if you still have hope to enter the innate realm in the future. Upon hearing Ying's words, Yin's eyes flashed with a light, and soon he saw data appearing above her head. Breaking through the perfect state after birth, there is a 60% chance of reaching 40 years old. Advancing to the innate realm has an 11% chance of ending their lifetime. Comprehensive evaluation, there is a high probability of breaking through the acquired perfect state and advancing to the innate state before the age of 40, difficult. Yin looked at the calculation results of the system appearing above Ying's head, and his expression slightly changed. He thought that systematic divination would be a very mystical thing. I didn't expect it to be a seamless data stream. Just as Ying thought about these things, Ying couldn't help but ask again, Mr. Hua, have you calculated it? Ying came to his senses and said to Ying, before the age of 40, you have the potential to break through to the perfect state the day after tomorrow. Ying, who was already 38 years old, couldn't help but show a hint of surprise on her face when she heard Ying's words. He quickly asked again, what about innate? Ying's voice trembled as she spoke. The perfect realm after tomorrow is just a second-rate expert. Only by elevating one's innate realm can one truly become a first-class expert admired by everyone in the martial arts world. Facing Ying's expectations, Ying shook her head gently and replied, there is hope, but it's difficult. The probability of 11% is really not high. Although Ying had already been mentally prepared, when she heard Ying's words, she couldn't help but show a disappointed and lonely expression on her face. But soon he adjusted his mindset and sighed, anyway, this is probably fate. The people around looked at Ying with some empathy in their hearts. The innate realm is a barrier that has stopped countless people in the martial arts world, and they will never be able to overcome it for the rest of their lives. The situation that Ying is currently facing is also one that the vast majority of them are facing. So they can understand Ying's feelings at this moment. Just as Ying was about to get up and leave, Ying suddenly said, but things are not without a turning point. Upon hearing Ying's words, Ying's dark eyes suddenly lit up. He sat down again and urgently asked, Mr. Hua, there's still a turning point. Ying nodded lightly and said, you should have been a genius-like person, but unfortunately, you fell ill in your early years and have a hidden disease. If you can cure this hidden disease, you may not have no hope of advancing to the innate realm. Upon hearing this, Ying's face showed a look of helplessness and said, I had a high fever when I was young. Since then, my body has been feeling unwell and I can't tolerate high temperatures. I feel extremely uncomfortable in summer. Practicing martial arts is also for the purpose of strengthening my body. Later, I learned something and started wandering the rivers and lakes. He had already witnessed Ying's omniscient ability, so he was not surprised that Ying could be considered as suffering from a hidden illness. Ying heard Ying's words and nodded lightly. After giving Ying the previous calculation results, the system also gives a prompt. Reminder, the target is suffering from a hidden disease. If the hidden disease can be cured, the probability of being promoted to congenital before the age of 40 is 66%, and the probability of being promoted to congenital before the age of 50 is 97%. After recounting her childhood experiences, Ying couldn't help but ask, Mr. Hua, I don't know how to cure this hidden disease. Ying replied, if you want to treat a hidden illness, you naturally have to go see a doctor. I am a diviner, but I don't have the ability to treat illnesses. Ying sighed at the words and said helplessly, to be honest with Mr. Hua, I have seen many famous doctors and tried many remedies, but unfortunately none of them have been effective. Ying pondered for a moment and said, I know a divine doctor, but he is not in the Ming dynasty, but in the Song dynasty. In the world of martial arts, major dynasties stand tall, and although there is some friction between them, they are still peaceful, exchanging ideas and developing together. So for second-rate masters like Ying who have acquired the realm, it is not difficult to travel from the Ming dynasty to the Song dynasty. It just takes some time. However, for Ying, who is eager to advance to the innate realm, spending some time is not a big deal at all. Upon hearing Ying's words, Ying immediately said, please let Mr. Hua know the name of this miraculous doctor. Even if he is far away, I will definitely find him. After I am promoted to Xiantian, I will definitely repay today's favor with 10 times and 100 times the hexagram gold. Ying looked at Ying's eager and sincere expression, smiled slightly, and replied, this person is very famous. The people of the Song dynasty and the martial arts world all call him Xuan. You just need to go to the Song dynasty and ask the martial arts people about this person, and naturally you can find him. Ying had no doubt about what Ying had said, and immediately stood up and bowed, saying, "Thank you very much, Mr. Hua." Ying waved his hand and said, "You pay the divination fee, and I will do the divination for you. It's a fair transaction. You don't need to thank me, but you must remember your promise and never break it. This person's existence is to spread the protagonist's reputation further." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Battle Puppets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Battle Puppets. Ying thanked Ying repeatedly and left with great gratitude. The onlookers in the martial arts world looked at Ying with extremely delicate eyes. Ying divined for Ying, not only pointing out that Ying was suffering from a hidden illness, but also telling him how to solve the problem. It is likely that when Ying returns from the Great Song dynasty to the Great Ming dynasty, it will be the time when he ascends to the innate realm. This has made many second-rate masters who aspire to advance to the innate realm eager to do so. You only need to pay 100 taels of silver to know how to advance to the innate realm. This deal is definitely worth it. Ying looked at the crowd and said calmly, "Today is still the last hexagram." Upon hearing Ying's words, everyone immediately stopped hesitating and rushed over eagerly. After seeing off the last person seeking divination, Ying was preparing to go upstairs to his room to rest. The figure of Xuan Haitang suddenly walked in from outside. She went straight to Ying's side, handed him a wooden box, and said, "Mr. Hua, the remaining 90,000 taels of silver are all here." Ying glanced at Xuan Haitang and smiled as he picked up the wooden box, saying, "Thank you, Xuan Miss, for running again." After finishing speaking, Ying prepared to go upstairs. At this moment, Xuan Haitang suddenly said, "Mr. Hua, please stay." Ying turned around and said, "Could it be that Xuan girl still wants to do divination? We don't have a chance today, please wait for tomorrow." It's not that Ying doesn't want to do more divination every day to earn more divination money, but the system is not awesome. He can't do 3 divinations every day. Xuan Haitang shook her head and said, "I'm not trying to divine, but I want to ask Mr. Hua why he's divining for Chao Jingchuan's castrated dog." On the way here, she had already received a report from the intelligence personnel. Chao Jingchun came with a large sum of money to seek divination from Ying, and obtained a result that satisfied Chao Jingchun very much. This made her feel a bit uncomfortable. "I don't think Ying should be divining for Chao Jingchun." Upon hearing Xuan Haitang's words, Ying said calmly, "Whether it's a man or a woman, good or bad, if you can only afford to pay for divination, you can obtain a divination from me. Since I can divine for the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis, why can't I divine for Chao Jingchun?" Upon hearing Ying's answer, Xuan Haitang frowned and said, "But Chao's eunuch flatters the upper and arrogates the lower, harms loyalty and goodness, and is ruthless and ruthless. Such scoundrels are all to be punished. Isn't Mr. Hua's moved to assist the emperor in his tyranny?" Ying shook his head and said, "These things have nothing to do with me. He is a diviner, and whoever gives the divination gold will do it for him, which is reasonable and reasonable. Chao Jingchun is indeed not a good person, but is Iron Gallbladder God Marquis just a good thing?" He knew that Xuan Haitang greatly admired the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. He would not believe anything he said, so he was too lazy to continue talking nonsense to Xuan Haitang and walked upstairs. Xuan Haitang saw Ying leaving and wanted to say something more. At this moment, Ying suddenly turned around and looked at Xuan Haitang with extremely sharp eyes. He said in a deep voice, "Xuan Miss, please take care of yourself and don't meddle in your affairs. Otherwise, no wonder I'm not being polite. He is so lazy to give any good face to such a stubborn and persistent woman." Xuan Haitang's face suddenly changed when she saw Ying's strong performance. At this moment, she remembered that Ying was a master who couldn't even help her adoptive father, the Iron Gallbladder God Marquis. She should not be so rude to Ying. Thinking of these, she immediately bowed to Huayin and said, "I'm sorry, it was Haitong's inappropriate words just now. Please don't blame Mr. Hua." Shangguan Haitang lowered her head and waited for a long time, but could not wait for Huayin's response. Just as she was feeling anxious and uneasy inside, Lao Bai's voice suddenly came. "This Shangguan. Miss, Mr. Hua has already left." Upon hearing Lao Bai's words, Shangguan Haitang realized that Huayin had already gone upstairs. The entanglement of Shangguan Haitang is just a small interlude for Huayin, and it will not particularly affect his mood. And now that the divination gold for the iron gallbladder god Marquis has been obtained, it is possible to extract the attached chi points. It's time to open 10 golden treasure chests in a row. System: extract all hexagram gold's human luck. Huayin drained all the divination gold he had harvested in the past few days, totaling 10,200 taels of silver, and obtained 110,200 points of chi. These luck values are enough for him to exchange for 10 gold treasure chests, and he can also get an additional welfare treasure chest with a surplus, which can be said to be quite good. Redeem treasure chest. Huayin didn't hesitate and directly exchanged 100,000 points of chi luck value for 10 golden treasure chests. In addition, I also received a colorful welfare chest. He looked at the 10 gold chests in front of him, rubbed his hands, and opened all the gold chests in one breath. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 10,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 10,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 10,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward of lightness skill Lingbo micro step. Congratulations to the host for receiving 2 bonus pills. Congratulations to the host for receiving 2 bonus pills. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 10,000 taels of silver. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward of 1 yang finger. Congratulations to the host for receiving 2 bonus pills. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward golden silk armor. Huayin looked at the 10 open gold chests in front of him, and the reward of 10,000 taels of silver skipped over. His gaze focused on Lingbo Weibu and the yang finger. Lingbo micro step and 1 yang finger, wonderful. Huayin can be said to love these 2 rewards very much. As one of the most graceful lightness skills in the world of comprehensive martial arts, Lingbo micro step is not only fast but also visually appealing. When Huayin was young, he had a dream of learning how to take gentle steps on the waves, but now it can be considered a childhood dream. This yang finger is a unique skill of the Duan family in Dali, powerful and famous in the martial arts world. It's also an extremely powerful martial arts skill, but unfortunately it's not the 6 meridian divine sword, otherwise this wave would have made a lot of money. As for the boosting pill, 1 can be opened in a silver chest, while 2 can be opened in a gold chest. The price of this treasure chest has increased tenfold, but there is only 1 additional bonus pill, which is really a bit stingy. However, Huayin also knows that the bonus pill belongs to special rewards and is not a must-have. If you have good luck opening a silver treasure chest, you may get 1 or 2, but if you don't have good luck opening 100, you may not get a single one. Therefore, it would be good if you could give an extra gold treasure chest. 6 boosting pills accumulate 60 years of internal power, which is equivalent to saving him 60 years of hard work. It can be said to be very good. After seeing the rewards of martial arts pills, Huayin turned his gaze to this last reward. He looked at the intimate armor shining with a faint golden light in front of him, and a hint of surprise appeared on his face. Golden wire armor. Huayin didn't expect that this last reward would actually be a piece of armor. If given to others, this thing may be a good self-defense, but for him, it is somewhat insignificant. Because as long as he stays in the Tongfu Inn, he is invincible. This golden armor is really useless to him today. After a year, when his invincibility disappeared, his strength had long been unknown and he might not need this golden silk armor. However, despite this, it cannot be denied that this is indeed a rare treasure. Keep it in hand, It may be of great use in the future. Thinking of these, Xuan simply took off his clothes and put on the golden silk armor. This golden silk armor is extremely close to the body, and it is very soft and delicate. Wearing it on the body is like a layer of silk woven clothes, which does not cause any discomfort, and there is no abnormality visible from the outside. It's pretty good. Xuan patted his chest and was quite satisfied with the golden silk armor. Now all 10 gold chests have been opened, leaving only the last welfare chest. The last time the welfare box was opened, he needed the most internal mental skill, and this time he probably won't be disappointed. Open it for me. Xuan took a deep breath and opened this precious welfare chest. As the welfare box was opened, a strange puppet the size of a palm appeared in front of Xuan. Congratulations to the host for receiving a reward for the battle puppet. Seeing this puppet, Xuan couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Battle puppet. What is this for? After Xuan raised a question, the system immediately provided an answer. Battle puppets can help hosts conduct real-time simulation training. While answering the questions, the system also directly instills the usage of war puppets into Xuan's mind. The system's answer was simple, but it caught Xuan's eye. Now he is already in his innate realm and can be considered a first-class expert, but he lacks practical experience. What he currently lacks most is an evenly matched and easily controlled opponent. The welfare chest is indeed a welfare gift given by the system to the host. Whatever you really want, come with it. He likes this pair of war puppets even more than any rewards he has received before. Okay, that's really a good thing. Xuan is very happy. With this pair of war puppets, it won't be long before he truly possesses the combat power of a top-notch expert in the innate realm. Previously, he had already learned the specific usage method of this pair of war puppets from the system. At this moment, his mind moved and the battle puppets disappeared, and then a peculiar space appeared in his mind. At this point, the combat puppet is in this space, and his consciousness can enter this space to conduct practical combat simulation training with the combat puppet. Although it is a conscious simulation, after the training is completed, the training results will be fed back from consciousness to the real body. Moreover, during the simulation training process, Xuan's body and mind can have a perfect rest, just like dreaming, without any feeling of fatigue, which can be said to be quite powerful in all aspects. This made Xuan unable to help but immediately start a practical simulation training. Start simulation. And just as Xuan began his simulation training, his divination for Chao Zhengchun had already been sent to Hulong Mountain Villa by Shangguan Haitang as a flying pigeon message. Just as the carrier pigeon had just flown out of Qixia town, it was shot by a sharp arrow and killed. Pai Xiaotian withdrew his long bow from his hand and looked down at 7 carrier pigeons lying at his feet, who had also been shot. He gave a cold smile. I can't imagine a carrier pigeon leaving Qixia town alive today. Arrange a cheat for the protagonist to increase their combat experience. End of this chapter.